Thanks. Hi, guys. Thank you all so much for joining today. I am very excited to be bringing you another audience development webinar along with Lauren as we are in June now. This was the sixth webinar we've done related to traffic growth in some way. Since I started, and this one, giving people just as I see them coming in, this catered to summer. I'm going to say it right off the bat that this can be applied to any whatever your own slow season happens to be. I think summer is catchy, although I realize that I am in Phoenix, so it's definitely summer over here. And historically can be a slower time for just general people online, as school's out, traveling, certain things like TV and entertainment takes breaks. People maybe since traveling, eating out more, recipes, all these different niches can see a lull over the summer. So putting together an angle today where give several tips and ways to mitigate or lessen that revenue loss, even through the traffic, also traffic loss, ways to spur that back up through the season as well. And a common slide that I start with as just an overall look at the SEO industry today. I've met so many publishers in the last several months that just some education and me as well, as you see the tactics being used and how Google has gotten better at understanding certain code. Google's fitting into these 4 buckets. You really have, as you go along in your content strategy and your day-to-day website and business growth, looking at the content, the quality of it, obviously as it ties into your niche, building your brand experience, that's EAT, building the trust that both Google and users see in your site. User experience, that's things like navigation, getting on your actual phone device and seeing how it works, how easy it is to read on the page, readability. So many of you I've talked to about increasing font size and breaking up large, long paragraphs on mobile. As well as technical. This is where so many of you shine in the code, page speed solutions, try to help with that from our side as well. So this is an SEO industry overview. This is a slide I will repeat every time. But getting in today, Lauren also, by the way, is managing any sort of like comments, questions. If you, throughout any of this, want to jump on the screen, say, have a question in real time, that's fine. Also, my email address is lindsay.valdez@freestar.com if you have questions afterwards, things like that. But feel free to make this a discussion. She can also read them out loud if you drop them in the chat. Agenda today, and I know I put this out ahead of time, but these are sort of the tips we're going to go through. You can kind of look at this in several ways. I'm so excited to present this today because you have things to do in a slower traffic season that are more immediate, like content, things you can do right then. And there's also a set of things you can do because of the slower season of traffic that's just less risk, or that frees up some time of yours to start planning for what's often the peak season for publishers and advertiser revenue, which is Q4. So this is the agenda for today. I'm going to pause briefly, see if we have anything before I jump in.
Anyone who's asked questions before knows that you might get a little bit of a treat from us if you ask questions. So just a little bit of incentive right there. Or comments. Comments are welcome as well if you have anything to comment on.
Love it. All right. Before I jump, one last thing I wanted to briefly mention. If you have joined us today or are watching this, and it is today, a free star, a publisher. We have two things coming up. One is tomorrow for algorithm updates. May 25th was a big one. First of the year, I've had many one-off conversations with our own publishers, free stars. So I'm doing an office hours tomorrow where you can just drop in if you've been impacted. Also, end of month, I want to say yes, on the 28th, end of month, we're doing an GA4 overview, how to use it, not so much how to set it up. That ended up being like a few quick clicks. Many of you have done it, but that's GA4 coming soon. All right. I'm going to start with setting traffic goals. And this topic looks different for every publisher. Even in my time here so far, the goals themselves have had to be at just a larger quantity of page views, or if you're viewing sessions or whatever your main KPI is, setting those goals looks very different. Also seasonal things, your own bandwidth, things I wouldn't be able to select for you, knowing what you have lined up for the year. But it's always good to have a goal, whether it be a flat structure. This is something I did early on in audience development days, was to take a website and look at all the different opportunities and kind of come up with a plan of what we thought it could reasonably grow to. This may be something, and you would want to look at all the traffic sources currently driving traffic when you're coming up with your goals. Today, much of this is about SEO, but it's also, it could be on anything. It could be, I haven't set any email program in place. Maybe that factors in. So you think you could get a 1% lift in traffic due to that. And that's fine. So using this off season, or even as you get into summer, to set some traffic goals and look at year over year. If every summer is slower, or maybe if you're a travel site, this is peak season. Again, everything I go through today can be applied in some way to any season that you're in when you're trying to spur traffic growth or movement. You could do it quarterly goals, and then the metrics that you care about. I would recommend page views, because that's of course where your impressions and your revenue is very tied to page view and traffic growth. But also look at engagement factors. If you can find a certain navigational flow that makes every single user even take one click internally, you've just doubled the ad impressions and your engagement metrics to Google, showing that you went from an average of 1 page to 2 with the same user. Small things like that can make a huge shift. Also, take this time to understand your audience. This is when you look and say, okay, I can see that my CPMs are higher when traffic's coming from push notifications or email or organic search. That's very common. And cater your content strategy to go along with that. Some of the more black and white facts when it comes to setting goals in search volume, and this is always going to be a challenge for publishers. Topics you write about need search volume. It can be news stories, it can be trending stories. It doesn't always have to be evergreen for sure, but should have some search volume. So using a tool like SEMrush, Ahrefs, there's many, Neil Patel's tools, any sort of search volume tools will help you get to those goals. If you write 100 articles and no one is searching for any of it, that's not going to get you to those goals. And then frequency matters. In slower seasons, doubling it, saying you write 2 posts a week to 4, maybe like kind of like a cheating tip to obviously grow traffic, but it helps in other ways too, in authority. And publishing frequency matters so much that publishing once to twice a month anyways is going to give you an obstacle. So in these times, you should definitely publish more frequently. All right. I'm going to get into, so setting goals number 1, seasonal content strategies. I talk about this a lot as well. It exists in some extent for almost all publishers, regardless of whatever niche you're in. You can use Q4, some of the more obvious ones like the actual holidays, but it doesn't have to be like that. It can be topical, like wedding season, fashion seasons, the times of year, which is applicable today as we're looking at summer, depending on where you're at. So there's 3 different seasonal content strategies that really work well for publishers. And I'd recommend if you're here today and you are leading editorial, then this information is for you. But if there is another time when getting everyone together in the same room and getting these to them, and you'll have opportunity to have not only this video, but also this deck to show, to explain to an actual editorial team as well. But always look at what did well last summer or whatever season you're looking at. Knowing your historical top performers, knowing then not to republish the exact same angle, best sunscreens for children. You may have done it last year and it may have done really well, and you're not going to want to publish some topic exactly like that. If it's activities for kids during the summer, games for kids to play when they're out of school, travel content, things like that, instead of publishing the exact same angle a year later, look at it, look into your data, see what did well, and update it. Second is to use that to create new content, related content. When you have something that did really well last summer, best campgrounds in the United States, what could you do this summer that would allow you to link to something that's already performing, but yet also be related to a topic your audience is interested in, like camping essentials, camping gear, things along those lines. That's your new content play. You're updating what's done well and then creating new related content, linking the two together. And then there's things this year, like still of your niche, right? You're never going to just go off. Nothing I say is ever going to guide you to like go completely off niche, even if I don't specify every time. So within your niche, using tools like Google Trends, Pinterest Trends to find out, look at your competitor sites. That's one I've recommended in the past. Check out what else is just Feedly, CrowdTangle. Those are some tools, many free, to see what's just trending this year related that you can write about. The next few slides are examples. Number one, prefacing that I had them. They're just from normal publishing editorial strategy. Also, they're in the United States and take along, they may not be niche specific, but these are just an idea of cultural moments and having these work into your seasonal moment strategy and your editorial strategy. Some are completely obvious. Of course, you're writing so many free start sports sites. So Final Four, where you see in April or March Madness, things like that. Of course, this is obvious, but some of these might just be a little outside of what you're considering seasonal. Let's go to the next one. Let's see. Was that cultural? This is more tentpole, again, holiday, graduation, things a little less real holidays, but ways for you to use content and win big on those seasonal moments. Even just general human trends like healthy eating in January. Very common for that to be the vegan, the healthy food sites main time of year as people start their resolutions, and by March they're kind of down to normal numbers. So any of these you can have your own for your own niche. These are just merely an example templates for whatever I was doing at that moment and for that niche. Have these of your own and understand what types of content that do well throughout the year.
Lindsay, we have a question coming in. What's your source for these editorial calendars? Are there generic ones you like? Also, thank you for these ideas.
You are very welcome. I'm gonna flip back one to see if they're generic. No, I would some from experience, generic in the sense of Googling. Yes, you can Google calendars or events. Every year the dates change on many of these. Like I'm looking at one for the Academy Awards. If you're in entertainment news, since those dates, yes, Googling things like event calendars. This one though, Tentpole, I've created this throughout the year based on what advertisers had been interested in for a lot of lifestyle sites. So knowing it ahead of time, that's Tentpole can be used in that way, knowing ahead of time that Pride Month is in June, just now. And for sites that are targeting in any way news content, positive content around this month, you would have started maybe pitching brands back in March and tying those together. So kind of a combo for both to find exact dates, but also just general Googling event calendars and what these are created. And you're welcome, because I think even I did not start thinking this Earth Day 420, what a great one, right? There's, people weren't always thinking on this level. You were just thinking Q4's gift guides. So to expand that a little broader. Great question. All right. So this next one is content clusters. And if I haven't already used that term, you may have heard terms like pillar content, content trees. They're kind of the obvious picture of having staple topics that you have authority in, and then your cluster looking kind of like an ecosystem where there are all these connected pieces of related content. This is one I have seen work. This is how you establish your authority in subtopics and grow and expand and broaden your related content. I've seen it work from the very beginning. It's just that obvious step of the more content you have around a topic related to your expertise, the better you're going to do. Google's going to see you maintaining, adding new content, and keeping that your site is an updated source for users. Love the example of having an entire site dedicated to finances and then a one-off piece of surfing tips, right? You're never going to be an authority in surfing. There's whole sites dedicated to that. So to understand how to build the content cluster is something you can do either as you head into this seasonally, or ways to quickly intentionally decide what to write new content about as you're trying to overcome the slump of traffic. So let's talk about this a little bit of time, a little bit deeper. You're having time, you're having some extra time using tools, even GA. Let's say you don't have a tool like SEMrush because that's not free. So to look even in GA, looking at organic traffic only tells you your top performers. I bet most of you can name your top 20 to 50, depending on site scale, pages that drive your revenue, because that's something you've always cared about. But look at the content on those pages as well. Because there's a tie in there. Google, if it's coming from organic search in GA, it's meaning that Google is giving you authority for that. And users aren't scrolling past the top, certainly not the top page of desktop, but even on mobile, the top few, right? So that shows you, if nothing else, if you have no other tool to give insight on that, that will guide you to choosing what they're seeing you as an authority on. So say you're a fashion site and all of a sudden you see that summer's coming and your swimsuit content has done well, and your transitioning from spring to summer content has done well, and you see these pieces that guide you to these clusters. All right, so that's your pillar content, or your tree. Think of the tree trunk, and everything off of that should be related. There's an example on the right. So, 4th of July, that's a seasonal moment is coming. And last year you saw your 14 4th of July cocktail recipes did well. This kind of all works together. The content cluster, refreshing content, it's all almost just a streamlined process to editorial. Thinking of new related topics. This year, try a dessert, 4th of July dessert roundup. Link them together. And this is something I see common these are on the big eyes for big publishing sites for where they're actually modifying the navigation. It's the last tip on the right there. If you were a food site and you have tagged content all these years and know 4th of July is coming, or summer recipes, summer salads, that's a big one. They might even move them in the navigation. You want to do things that just for that time period, because you know users are coming to you for that. Cater to the user. And this is just good in general, content strategy to understand what performs well and have related pieces. Updating old content counts. So 4th of July, you may look again, you may see last year what did well. That's where you found in my example, the cocktails recipe, but see what's at the bottom. What didn't do so well. It may not be from last year. It could be from 2009, but a topic related to the 4th of July that you could do, make it better and republish it. I talked to a publisher this week that said they had really, I want to say, you just started updating old content on a monthly basis, digging into what's not doing well and refreshing it. Let's see, that's not the next one, but it may be on here. Has almost doubled their sessions. So that content is useful. I recommend knowing just a content inventory of what you have and that working towards a goal that it's all high quality. Pausing to breathe. All right. Thank you guys so much for your time. Moving to the next. This is a perfect time, not only because if you are experiencing lower traffic, then there's less risk, but you're also, yes.
I'm so sorry. I missed this. So sorry to interrupt you. We have another question coming in. Sure. Is adding a navigation/menu item designed to draw people to the article from other pages, or have you seen an SEO benefit to having a top level site link?
Definitely the second. Repeat that one more time.
Okay. Is adding a navigation menu item designed to draw people to the article from other pages, or have you seen an SEO benefit to having a top level site link for seasonal articles? Clarification for seasonal articles. Okay,
both. Honestly, both. I think that it does drive additional traffic in, but it's really because of that second point. It's you're catering the user, they're getting there quicker, but also there's signals to Google about what is in your main navigation that also lifts that content up as well. This is also a strategy, a much lower lift strategy on Pinterest. I know Pinterest is not something I commonly even bother with. They've had so many problems, but traffic at one point from Pinterest, and some still do have that, and then if you think of that, you rearrange your boards to whatever is seasonal. So you would during that time put summer boards at the top of that page. It's kind of the same idea there that you're doing with the navigation. Love that question. I see it on the top recipes, the Meredith properties, recipes.com, sites like that they'll move it to the navigation. All right. Traffic. Okay, so sorry. Thank you for that, Lauren, for stepping in with that question. That was wonderful. This is for kind of both. We did a session recently on video. Many of you went ahead and decided to try that video. Unit is working with your account managers and your customer success managers to try it, to turn that on. The benefits already have been wonderful, but the same goes for other formats of ads as well. Again, there's less risk associated with slower seasons. You're prepping for Q4 in the back of your mind, right? Because the Q4 is a riskier time. You probably don't want to introduce something that will impact the experience for the user right at that time, if that's your peak season. So using summer to try some high impact units that pay more to mitigate whatever traffic loss you're seeing. And in the same way that we did for video, same recommendation, I just bring it in here. They're not as the industry itself, and I'm not talking about my end or our end of it, the actual functionality and ad tech delivery there has gone a long way in a decade, that it isn't pop up, horrible experience, autoplay sound, aggressive to the user that it used to be. I'm on phone, obviously, just as a user, pretend I don't do what I do and work here, as I'm sure all of you guys do as well. You're on your phone and you see little like the inner scrollers. You're scrolling on your mobile and it holds and it pins to the top. Things that aren't overly aggressive, but do catch your eye, then they go away. They're merely for a second. Users are so used to seeing things like that. Oh, I listed them here in the second. So you have like the sticky adhesion units, and Freestar offers all of those products of our own as well. So this is a great time to just test with the higher paying ad formats. If you feel good about them in your audience, not only are you going to see the lift here during this slower time, but think about when it goes into Q4 and 3, even in certain months when CPMs in general pick up, you're going to be prepared. Your audience will be aware. Another thing lastly here, if you do have reservations, for sure, again, your Freestar team is happy to walk you through them like in real time or demo them for you. But before that, Google your competitors, see what they have running on their site as well, to kind of give a benchmark. That's what I'm looking for there for what others are doing. All right. It is my goal this year to do at least one session and one sort of more targeted offering or push to publishers about an e-com strategy. It doesn't directly tie in, at least at the moment. We do have services, I listed some here, relationships that we can work with you through or on for them, but it may not help, us directly, but for all publishers, regardless of where that is coming from, there's programs, even to like Amazon that, so slower times are a great season to look at a new revenue stream through e-commerce. There are many times where I see even partners of our own where I Google a term, I'm looking at them for a SEO level, and I'm looking in the real search results, and their page ranks for a term that incorporates products or could easily incorporate a product naturally. This is not spam. This is naturally thinking useful for the user, and they don't have an affiliate link attached to where they're mentioning the product. From the very basic level, say you write a article about buying an RV. It's not a great example. I have a list of examples. Buying an RV, you have 15 of them. Buying mascara, you're listing the best products, or you're talking about a product review, whatever it is, and having getting a little bit of commission from any sale you make. So many of you are already doing this, but look at other ways. There might be evergreen articles where you can, you already linked to related other articles. You may be able to link to related product articles or products that are on your site to boost that revenue during the slower time. Yes, so I listed down here at the bottom where you incorporate some shoppable moments into your what we call MVP's most valuable performers. You will hear me use that term quite a bit, but it's common industry wide, your most valuable content. See if there's a way to incorporate some e-com recommendations into that, or maybe that's something you could do a roundup of a new piece, whatever the high performer one is, to see if there's a way. And then I listed some other reward style commission junction. Now I don't think they want to be called CJ, but there's these programs where you can be a member and get access to many different affiliate deals through that. All right, cleaning up old content. So how am I on time? All right, I think this is either the last or second to the last. Thank you so much. Cleaning up old content. During slower times when you may have a little extra time on your hands, this is good to do all year, though, is cleaning up old content. Google is looking at all of the content you've ever published. So one of the very first things I do when I'm either going to have a one-on-one session, or if I'm doing some sort of evaluation of the site, I will go to Google and go to the browser and type site : and then the top level domain. So say I'm doing it, say I do that to find, it gives you an idea of what Google sees of yours. And many of you are very technical. There's ways to control this through either a robots tag on page, or robots file, no index tags. There's ways to control, of course, what Google sees, but let's just say that you've left it open and they see the content you published from the very beginning. And that's it's a good project that every month you're either, say you find 5 Father's Day gift guides. You can look in GA, find the top performer by looking through all this old content, and use strategies such as either canonically into the preferred, most recent, most updated gift guide, or redirecting. If you think there's some link juice from the old one that you want to pass on, you can do a 301 redirect. Or if it's truly poor content, like stuff you publish that you wouldn't do today, not worth making it any better, take it down. Google, of course, you don't want to do that to a million pages, but if it is, Google says that's completely fine to take down content. And from doing this, more of what I was going to say, more of the immediate impact is that from these efforts, Google views your content differently. All of a sudden, they start to see some of the lower quality content contributing to the better stuff, or taken down, so they focus more on just the newer, better quality content. One thing I want to call out real fast is that, and I've called it out in, I want to say the Slack channel as well, but when Google, we had a big algorithm update on May 25th. Much of the changes you do, let's just say you cleaned up content and you're put all these canonical tags in place and took down efforts, and you're not seeing this immediate lift. Google has said that you may see page performance here and there get better, like right on the spot, for whatever reason. They just happen to index it and it sees a boost in search. But it's those core algorithm updates when you're really going to see the impact of some of these bigger projects that you've been working on, and Google has sort of, they've seen them change, but it's really at that time that they ingest what the improvements it's done to the site overall, and you can see those bigger spikes in traffic is right at the time of the algorithm. And many times, if a site goes down, it's really has nothing to do with that particular site. It's just, let's just, for say several competitors were spending all those months making their site better, and it paid off for them at the time of the algorithm update, and then your site is getting less traffic because of it. There isn't going to be a way to know in most cases exactly why you see a drop at that time. So cleaning up old content is a great way to maintain it. And then it's maybe the last one, but preparing for Q4, and almost everything I've mentioned today is for that anyways. And our Q4, my Q4 to me, it's more of that holiday content that we talk about here in the United States. But think about whatever quarter it is of the year of your time frame that gets the most traffic, and how you can use the slower times to start for less risk to try some things you've been holding off on, but really building into that, whatever your Q4 may be, because that's where you want to see, you're going to see not only higher search volumes, more people on the web than maybe summer would provide, but it's also when advertisers are paying the highest for those impressions. So when all of these are working together, for example, to know season by season, let's just use it quarterly. So this is summer, knowing each part of the year, what your top performers are, your MVPs, and begin to see how you can make them better. What enhancements can you make to the page? If it's ranking in the top few, don't touch it. I like to remind that. It's one of your very top revenue pages, best to leave it, but within that range that's ranking towards the bottom of page 1, page 2, a little less risk, start understanding what you have to work with. And from there, you can plan your content clusters, and ways to make that better, and how to build new content all at one time in prep for your highest seasons. Add layout changes. There's also things there where you can certainly use the slower seasons. Another thing, I'll say it in January for us, because CPMs, it's industry wide. CPMs are always, publishers see a drop coming off of especially December. So another good time to try some things that have lower risk in that season. But summer in general can have some historically lower traffic seasons. That's really a great time to test not only new ad products, but new content strategies.
Amazing. Thank you, Lindsay. So we don't have any other questions, but I know we always tell you, please email us with any topic ideas, but I'll go ahead and put you all kind of give you the floor if you're interested. Does anyone have any topics that they'd like to hear from for the next workshop from us? Or is there anything like a pain point that you think other publishers would benefit from? You don't have to come on camera, but if you'd like to, we'd love to hear from you live. These are really, as you can tell, for you. And we want to make sure that we're just hitting the right topics. Anyone? Or even Freestar employees. I see a lot of our CSMs on here. Any of you guys have any ideas for topics that you want to share with the group? No pressure.
Well, while you're thinking on that, thank you guys so much for Slack, for the participation in Slack. I love that many and even those who don't join us live but watch later and then see something in Slack, not only reach out to just say kind things about the tips, but also starting to see some impact, and you're keeping me updated within our Slack. So if you're not part of Free Collective and you're a Freestar publisher, become one, because that's an engaging place to be as well.
Great. And then we do have another question coming in. Does Freestar have an overall all publisher summary of seasonal traffic, seasonal CPM summaries?
Not that I've seen. I will have to say we will check on that, would be my answer. If it's like a guide in which I know we have the data, of course, behind the scenes to show which days, which seasons. June's can traditionally be a good time for that. But we'll follow back up with that, huh, Lauren?
Yep, that sounds good. And then I see someone just asked, how do we connect on Slack? So I will get with you, but basically in our audience development newsletter that we've been sending out once a month, there's a direct link to it. But Clint, I'll get with you personally to make sure that you're connected to us on Slack.
Mm-hmm. And many publishers just hit me up. There's a channel for it where I'll drop big things and major announcements, but then direct messages. It's if you have a quick question on the fly, direct message me there and I will get back to you.
All right, I think that's it for today. Thank you, Lindsay, for this amazing workshop, and thank you to all of you who joined.
Thank you guys so much. Talk soon.